Gardening lasagna style, the eco-friendly technique without all the back-breaking labor. Then a trip to Flag Row.
I felt compelled that people were taking a holiday for granted.
Remembering the real reason for Memorial Day. But first, a Crystal woman trying to organize one special reunion.
Nobody understands them like each other. And I just thought, why are we waiting on this? Why don't we do this?
12 News starts right now.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. On this Memorial Day weekend, a Crystal woman is remembering soldiers who took on a vicious firefight in Afghanistan.
Mary Henry's son is one of those who survived the ordeal in 2009. He was at Combat Outpost Keating, which is located near the border with Pakistan. And she now hopes to bring his unit back together for Memorial Day next year.
This is a group shot after the battle.
It was a battle in which Mary Henry's son, Eric Harder, and 52 other members of his cavalry regiment were outnumbered by the Taliban almost 10-1.
They fought for 12 hours. They lost 8 of their guys. How do you tell people about that? How do you sit in a room with people and they just are supposed to get what you've been through?
Their outpost, or COP as the military calls it, was built on low ground in a river valley. In addition to numbers, the enemy had a tactical advantage.
They said that this battle was very organized for the Taliban, that they could get that many together, and they were on all 3 sides of the COP.
If you could talk with us a little bit about what happened in Afghanistan. We asked a former soldier who was there to explain what that day was like.
They hit us bright and early at dawn, right when the sun was coming up.
Tom Rasmussen spoke to us via Skype from his home in Colorado.
Some of the closest fighting I've ever seen, in Iraq and Afghanistan. It was, guys 15, 20 feet away, shooting at each other, and they'd made it onto the COP.
Just to survive that as a group is really pretty remarkable.
It's a brotherhood that nobody will ever understand unless you were there. And it's so intense and it's so tight that there's nothing that can break it.
This group last came together at the White House as one soldier was awarded the Medal of Honor. Now Mary is working to bring them to Minnesota for a reunion.
Because I've heard how some of them have struggled since then. It'll be 6 years in October. People tend to forget. Nobody understands them like each other. And I just thought, why are we waiting on this? Why don't we do this?
And all of this has changed the way Mary looks at Memorial Day.
My stepdad was in the military, but I never honored Memorial Day like I feel like I should have.
This Memorial Day, she will remember the friends her son lost.
I will take time to look at their pictures, read their stories.
Mary's son Eric is still in the Army as a drill instructor in Georgia. And in the next year, she hopes to raise about $40,000 for a reunion here in Minnesota. For more information, you can check our website, 12.tv.
A Golden Valley man wants people to remember the real reason for Memorial Day.
The week before, they're thinking about heading up to the cabin and, firing up the grill and painting the house and going to the stores and getting all the big sales. I'm putting that in their head, that there's a reason why you have this day off. It's not just another day off from work, People paid a price.
Veteran John Giese has been putting up flags along the 1.5-mile stretch of Golden Valley Road near City Hall for about 9 years. The number of flags has grown now to more than 600. Giese also puts up several POW flags so people remember the thousands of service members who are still listed as a prisoner of war or missing in action. Memorial Day observances began a few days early in Plymouth.
We needed a new flag. It was that time, survived the winter and decided we needed a new flag. So they said, why not make it special for our veterans given the time of year, and called in the troops, so to speak, and decided to really make it something that would be meaningful for everybody.
Residents of the Waters of Plymouth Senior Living Community gathered for a flag-raising ceremony. The color guard from the Golden Valley VFW helped install the new flag in the front parking lot, and those in attendance sang America the Beautiful. After the flag raising, 25 residents who served in the military received roses as a token of appreciation.
It means a great deal because here we see that family love to honor the sacrifice of many guys that I knew and loved and suffered with.
On Monday, staff at the home will honor their veterans with a Memorial Day barbecue. Because of Memorial Day travel, MnDOT will suspend work on many projects, including I-494. Construction will resume following the holiday weekend, and AAA expects more than 37 million Americans to travel this weekend, the most since 2005. A big reason? Gasoline prices are about 90 cents less per gallon than a year ago.
Brooklyn Park is expected to honor a Champlin Park student killed by a drunken driver by naming a baseball field after him. Jason McCarthy was killed last summer after he was rear-ended at a stoplight on Highway 252. Jason's Brooklyn Park area Babe Ruth baseball team, came up with the idea to name field number 1 at Zane Sports Park in his memory. The council vote for Jason McCarthy Field will happen on Tuesday. Jason's friends and teammates are raising money for the cost of the sign and installation.
It hasn't taken long for candidates to emerge to fill Ryan Winkler's soon-to-be vacant House seat. Peggy Flanagan, a Native American and youngest person to ever serve on the Minneapolis School Board, has announced her intention to run. Flanagan now lives in St. Louis Park, and she is currently the executive director of the Children's Defense Fund of Minnesota. Winkler is resigning so his wife can pursue a job opportunity overseas.
Golden Valley is putting more energy into solar energy. There's now a 40-kilowatt solar panel system on the roof of the park maintenance building. These panels are expected to generate 52,000 kilowatt hours of energy to power this building and sell some power back to the grid. The city applied for grant funding to install the solar panels.
It's kind of our initiative to reduce our carbon footprint and go towards a more renewable energy source. In addition, there's a financial benefit for us. It's enabling us to hedge against rising electric costs by utilizing solar power.
Solar panels will also be installed on the public safety building this summer, and plans are underway to put up solar panels on 2 other city buildings, perhaps in the fall or in the spring. You may want to take a little time away from the barbecue to watch a 12 News special this weekend called Making the Grade. It highlights some of the best and brightest standout students, including those who've overcome some great obstacles. The show begins Saturday at 4 p.m. with other show times on the half hour throughout the weekend. Coming up, a gardening concept called lasagna that has nothing to do with noodles.
And then later in sports, action heats up in section softball tournaments. We'll have your highlights.
But first, could it be a Memorial Day washout? The best chance for rain and storms is Monday.
In Plymouth, workers are putting the finishing touches on improvements at the Hilde Performance Center. One big change is a new main entrance to the park on Plymouth Avenue. The $1.4 million project also includes extra restrooms, a pond plaza feature, and the Veterans Memorial. Workers will start engraving names on the Veterans Memorial sometime in June. The memorial will be ready to unveil in time for Music in Plymouth. Lasagna gardening. No, it's not something you eat.
It's a non-traditional method of gardening, and reporter Sonia Goins got some tips from Robbinsdale resident Priscilla Watson.
It's really like making lasagna.
Priscilla Watson is a member of the Robbinsdale Diggers Gardening Group.
Everything goes right on top. You don't have to till, you don't have to dig. You just have to gather all your materials, and that's the important thing, I would say.
This is the second year she's used the lasagna gardening method.
Okay, so this is actually how it all starts.
It's called lasagna gardening because you're creating layers. The first layer is newspaper.
Make sure that the newspaper you use is just the newspaper. You don't want the shiny stuff.
And then you wet it down.
So this is just leaves. And you want to keep it good and wet because that helps it decompose. Then I'm going to put a layer of grass.
Everything is recycled organic materials.
So the idea is that you can actually plant right in this. Then I'm going to put another layer of newspapers on top of that. And I do have some composted cow manure.
Then you add a layer of dirt. Now you're ready for planting.
So this is part of the sedum that was in my other garden. So now what you do is you just make a spot in here. I can actually feel the newspapers in there. And you just make a hole and you plant right in there. And voila! That's it. So there it is.
Very cool. Another benefit to Lasagna Gardening, there is little need for fertilizer because you plant your garden with nutrient-rich compost. Have you ever seen that before, Mike?
I've never seen it. That's cool.
I haven't. Very, because you don't have to till up your garden. Right. That would be pretty cool. Coming up, art inspired by ancient Holy Lands.
But first in sports, highlights from the Northwest Suburban Conference Track and Field Championships. John Jacobson has that and more when we come back.
Track and field athletes in the Northwest Suburban Conference had great weather for day 2 of their conference championship meet at Coon Rapids High School. We'll start with one of the field events. Defending state Class AA high jump champion Jeremy Johnson of Champlin Park clears 6 feet 6 inches, tying for the best jump of the day. Girls 200 meters. Lane 2 toward the right is Blaine's Alyssa Nebo. She wins in 25.66 seconds. Champlin Park's Tanya Horton, Maple Grove's Denitra Lee, and Park Center's for Shio Io Bombadelli all placed in the top 6. Boys 200 meters. It's Evan McClellan of Armstrong in red in the middle of your screen. He takes the title in 21.43 seconds. Sam King and Corey Mensa, both of Champlin Park, finished 3rd and 4th. Jonathan Johnson of Champlin Park placed 2nd in the long jump. His best leap is 21 feet 3 3/4 inches. Blaine wins both the boys and the girls conference meet. Maple Grove is the #1 ranked team in Class 3A softball. The defending Section 5 3A champion Crimson face Park Center in a winner's bracket semifinal game Thursday. Bottom of the 2nd inning, the Crimson's Megan Mulcrone grounds a single to center. Maddie Gordon comes around and scores the game's first run. Mulcrone leads off the 4th inning, and she drives it deep to center and out for a home run. Maple Grove leads 3-0. The Crimson add 2 more runs in the 4th, including one on an RBI single by Sydney Smith that drives in Taylor Rosacker, and it's 5-0 Crimson. No shock that it's more than enough run support for pitcher Smith, who spins a 3-hit shutout, striking out 13 as Maple Grove shuts out Park Center 6-0. In other games Thursday, Osseo beat Coon Rapids 6-1, but then the Orioles lost to Rogers in an elimination game. Park Center stayed alive in the double elimination tournament with a 3-1 win over Centennial. Tuesday at 3:30 in Rice Creek Park, Maple Grove meets Spring Lake Park in the winner's bracket final where Park Center and Rogers play. The loser of that game is out. The tournament championship is set for next Thursday at Rice Creek. After thumping Armstrong and Orono on the opening day of the Section 6 3A softball tournament, the Wayzata Trojans look to make it 3 in a row as they face second seed Buffalo. Wayzata strikes in the bottom of the 1st inning. Reagan Palish bloops a hit that drops in right field. Anna Gimmelstead scores, and it's 1-0 Trojans. But Buffalo gets the bats going in the 3rd. Mackenzie Johnson smashes a deep hit to the fence and left. Its scorer is Sarah Hudson as the Bison even the score at 1-1 with more to come. Emily Hansen pulls a sinking liner to right for a hit. Callie Wyckoff scores on the play, and when the ball rolls away toward the Wayzata dugout, Johnson also heads for home and makes it easily. And it's 3-1 Buffalo. Still in the 3rd, Elizabeth King celebrates her birthday in style. Her high fly ball keeps carrying over the fence in center for a 2-run homer. He bowls him over with that one, and it's 5-1 Bison. Wayzata makes it interesting in the 7th. Trailing 6-1, Katie Walk tags it to the fence in center field. Brianna Westerberg and Gimmelstead score. Wayzata gets 3 runs total, but they fall 6-4 to Buffalo. Also in the winner's bracket, Benilde tops top seed Hopkins 6-4. In the loser's bracket, Cooper eliminates St. Louis Park 2-0. Wayzata then bounced back to eliminate Cooper 14-5. Hopkins is still alive after pounding Orono. Hopkins and Wayzata meet Tuesday, while Benilde and Buffalo meet in the winner's bracket final. West Lutheran is still alive in Section 4A softball. They've advanced to next week's section final against New Life Academy. Well, some of the country's top high school boys basketball players are in Maple Grove this holiday weekend. The Nike-sponsored Elite Youth Basketball League is holding a 40-team tournament Saturday through Monday at the new community gyms at Maple Grove Junior High. It's one of 4 national qualifying tournaments. You'll see some future NCAA and NBA stars on the courts.
This is the EYBL circuit to get to the Peach Jam in Augusta, Georgia. You have 4 sites. This is the 4th site. We have 40 Nike teams coming in town to play some of the best basketball in America.
A huge tournament, bringing in a lot of people from all over the country to Maple Grove. And it's nice to be able to use this facility to, promote some of the top basketball. We have it's a basketball community. There's a lot of people interested in coming.
Maple Grove's Brad Davison and Champlain Park's Theo John are among the players on the Howard Pulley team representing Minnesota at the tournament. Still ahead, artwork inspired by ancient holy lands. We're back in just a moment.
And finally, an exhibit that takes us back to biblical times.
The Robin Gallery in Robbinsdale is wrapping up an exhibit called Sand and Stones. Neil Persley takes a look in Weekend Showcase.
If you haven't seen it yet, there's still time to catch Sand and Stones at the Robin Gallery in Robbinsdale. 2 artists have come together to create a harmonious show reflecting on places in the Torah and the Bible. Susan Armington created the mixed media pieces that blend so well with the images of Sylvia Horowitz.
Well, we met in this Jewish Artist Lab, which is really a unique experience where we study texts from the Bible or the Torah and talk about them in contemporary life in our own ways.
We've known each other. This is our 3rd year in this program. Independent of that, someone mentioned you should really look at your work together. It relates.
Sylvia spent 4 years capturing images of daily life in Old Jerusalem, but it was in the desert that she found something more.
My closest connection with something sort of bigger than all of us was in the wilderness.
When they brought their work together, the artists saw many similarities.
If you look at Sylvia's photograph here, with this dark space and that cave and this line down here and all this texture, and then you look in this dark space here and there's almost the same line there.
Susan's integration of color, texture, shape, and ancient text lead one in contemplation of a land sacred to so many, while Sylvia truly captures the majesty in terrain and the reverence or the playfulness of the inhabitants.
See her putting her hands on a heavy chain link fence and lifting it above her head and taking a step forward. And she became very emblematic for me.
For Weekend Showcase, I'm Neil Persley, 12 News.
Sand and Stones remains on display at the Robin Gallery through Saturday. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us.
Have a good weekend, everybody.